All right, I'm here to talk about the great business leaders and global movement leaders who were somehow able to bring people together to innovate and build world-altering solutions through partnership. What is their deeply held secret that makes them so great at bringing people together for the common good? Let's find out. Can somebody here tell me a challenge they're currently facing in their business? Now remember, I have 15 minutes, so I'm talking about 30 seconds of my time here. Something very simple and direct. Yes? She has a challenge. Wow, you saved me some time there. She has a challenge around communication between different generations. Can someone here in 30 seconds or less present a solution that they have or a skill that they have that can help this fine person here? Say it louder. Listening more than you talk. Anyone else? AI. Anyone have a business that actually is aimed at something like this, or a colleague? Yeah, tell me about that.
So we have a lot of engineers, and then we have most people in sales, and there is a lot of mismatch in communicate. So we have done exercise where they talk in their different way, and then we find a middle way.
So she has some exercises to offer. So can you just stand up and raise your hand real quick if you offered a solution? Stand up, raise your hand to our person there so she can see you. Come on, stand up, raise your hand. If you offered a solution so she can see you, please, please, please. Okay, find each other afterwards, all right? Great. So thank you. That's it. No? Okay. So that's the point here. I'm going to talk about deceptively simple skills. So I wrote a book called Don't Lead Alone. My co-author and I did some research on how these great, amazing people who build world-changing movements through partnership work. And what we said is, how does that matter to you and I sitting at our desks today, working with someone slightly different than ourselves? And really, they're very simple things. It's coming to a conference like this, naming a problem, and finding a person with that solution. Yet, we don't often practice them. So quickly, just to tell you a little bit about me, I am an organizational and leadership consultant. Yes, that is my real last name, I promise. I work with impact organizations across the country. I'm actually in town to go to Austin to work with one of their trail organizations after this. But I also work with teams. There are real people within these organizations. So I help them think about their strategy, but I also help them think about how to work together. I live in Sacramento, California, home of the California state government, work a lot in the conservation space, bringing people together there. But I'm also an East Coast guy. I'm high octane, high energy, and I can't really stand those California laid back people. I come from an immigrant family. My great-grandmother came over through Ellis Island. I had the honor of recently having a client at Ellis Island, thinking about how to tell the immigration story. I also married an immigrant. I'm really very conscious in my life to try to find people different than myself and realize that's a skill that not everyone does. It led to marriage. I met her in the first week of my MBA. She's from China. We fell in love. I have this whole theater thing. You might notice I'm pretty gregarious. I like to talk. I actually wasn't an actor. I was a theater director. So my whole job was to bring a group of people together to figure out how to build a product together across their differences and communicate. Sound familiar? I just had my first child. He's 6 months old. This is the longest I've ever been away from him. And I should clarify, my wife just had our first child. I had nothing to do with it. So, what are we here to talk about? Self-reinforcing silos. This is a pretty common term. A lot of us know it. But in case you don't, it's the idea that we're all pieces of grain within this silo, and that's all we see. We can't really see that. Planet Earth is a self-reinforcing silo. We all know that. That's why we're here at EarthX. So what do we do to get out of this? We come to conferences. We talk to people outside of our silos, and wow, are we successful? Because look, we found different shaped silos. And they're like different like ways of looking at the world, and they're in a different part of the field, but guess what? We're all in the same field. We're still in this conference self-reinforcing our silo. This is really hard to do. You spend a lot of money, and this guy up here is telling you that you wasted that money here because you're just dealing with other silos. How do we actually get out of this pattern? The problem is we're actually in this pattern, right? We're fish in the fishbowl. We're looking for other fish, and you can be so good at finding other fish. I bet there's somebody in this audience who's going to nail networking. They're going to have 100 contacts, 100 leads, and they're going to go back and build some great partnerships out of it. But you can't build to the scale of creating a movement, of creating an impact beyond what you are able to see and find. You have to be able to jump to a new fishbowl, and that's not so easy. So what do we do about this? This is not my framework, by the way. This comes from Adaptive Leadership, a really great leadership model. But the first thing you should try, deceptively simple skill, is to get on the balcony. By the way, I've been literally getting on the balcony. My room is on the top floor there. You should take the elevator up and look down. It's really helpful. I have a booth out there. It really helped me think about where it's set up in the context of this conference and gave me some information. But it's obviously a metaphor, right? Conferences are dance floors. We talk to someone, we turn to the next person. That's how we network. By the time we talk to 6 people, if you're an introvert, by the way, I'm secretly an introvert, you are exhausted by the end of that. How do you step back and really look at what the system is in play? How do you observe? How do you take that step? Guess what? This is not just a symbolism. This is a thing you should practice. I tell my clients to book a half hour of balcony time every Monday, and they do. This may be your meditation time. If you're like me, it's you look at your calendar and you say, you know what, that meeting on Thursday, that doesn't need to be an hour. That can be a half hour. We can get that done. Or I'm missing this great partner of mine that I've been thinking about for weeks, and I realize this problem I'm trying to solve later in the week, I need to call them today and get that done. So legitimately give yourself that balcony time. Again, deceptively simple skill. We worked hard on this book. We worked hard on these 3 very cartoon-like drawings, so bear with me. This first one, you may notice there's a dot thinking up, and then the dot is thinking about where that dot falls with all these other dots around it. And there's a little frame around it. We call this think like a system. So figuring out what your system is, again, I don't want this just to be symbolism. I recommend you do this. Back of a napkin later today, when you don't feel like networking with someone else and you just need a corner of the space in the room, spend 15 minutes drawing out the system in which you work. Who are the key partners that you're aware of? What are the key other departments that you work with within your company? What are the resources and skills that you rely on? And draw all the dots and the connections and start seeing how you can place yourself in the middle of that. What happens when you're in the middle? Many of us think we're on the side, but we actually are in the middle. We can be the person that orchestrates that. There's a practical exercise, again, not mine. I went to UC Davis for my MBA, go Aggies. This is Professor Andrew Hargadon. This is a tool to start taking that system and put it to use. It's called net storming. So first thing first is identify. Identify your opportunity or challenge. Thank you, you did that. You've done it. Congratulations, steps 1's done for you. Next, you spend 15 minutes brainstorming people in your network you already know that can help you with that. We got you started on that. You have some new folks. But think about the people in that system that you drew. Next is identify specific people or companies that are partners. So now you're starting to think outside that frame, right? Who else is out there that you haven't thought about that could help you solve this problem? Spend 15 minutes making those connections. Now you start branching. Okay, I know this person. They actually have a connection to this company. I can be able to branch out through them. And last but not least, brainstorm how you can create those connections back to yourself, right? So you now have 2 separate degrees of separation. You have, I know this person who knows this person. How am I going to make that come back to me? And guess what? They invented something for this. Anyone know what it's called? LinkedIn. Those are 2nd and 3rd connections. You can all do this work very easily. I was talking to one of my fellow speakers who says there's an AI now that's just for this, to kind of build out your connections. You tell it what it's looking for, and it finds you the perfect person. So that all leads to, green dot, the second really, really thought out image that looks like a cartoon. Suddenly you're in the middle of this thing, but this is the next thing I want you to do practically is draw this. So spend 15 minutes drawing that system. That's great. But then spend another 15 minutes drawing the network. Drawing that network of all those people you thought of. How are all they connected to each other and to you? And you'll notice something interesting here happens. You're no longer in your silo. You have different kinds of frames, different ways of seeing the world. Some are a little stodgy and old. You're going to have to get through that. Some are really exciting and contemporary and pushing the mold. Some of them have their own big circle in the middle. Really good thing to recognize. Who is that pivotal circle? Some of them have strong ties, lots and lots of lines going to them. Some of them have weak ties. You only have one person or one company you can work your way through. That's a really great place to focus. We call this act like a network. So you thought about your system, figured out where you are. Now you see who you have to go after, and you go after them. So how do you do act like a network? So I call it co-creating a new language, right? Because now I'm talking to someone not in that silo. They're not at EarthX. They may actually completely disagree with me that EarthX even matters. How do I start talking to them and building them into my partnerships for change? So co-creating a new language is a little bit of a complex concept, but let's make it simple. You have ping pong paddles. You have badminton paddles. Anyone know what this is? Pickleball. This is how pickleball was invented. They were on a badminton court. They only had ping pong paddles and a wiffle ball. They started hitting it, and that's the history of pickleball. Now that some of you are obsessed with that, you know why. Again, the same professor, Andrew Hargadon, he calls this recombinant innovation. He says no innovation happens without putting two ideas together and figuring out what that new version is. And we also argue it's recombinant networking. No good networking happens. You don't just find the person at the conference and happen to hit it off with them. You figure out how that skill set and your skill set that may not be in the same silo will connect to each other. Another one, this is for my gray-haired folks like me. You have a clock, you have a radio. Anyone know what happens? Clock radio, right? Very, very simple concept. If you don't know what a clock radio is, I'm sorry. It looked like that. We'll explain to you what that FM word means. Right? So again, I want to say this is really, really simple. You don't have to invent pickleball. You can say there's a clock and a radio. What happens if? I wonder if clock radio. By the way, my 3 favorite words in the English language, you gave me permission to tangent, so I'm going to tangent. I wonder if. I wonder if. It opens up possibilities. It also allows you to disagree, but still explore. So another one I give my clients, and I really hope you take with you. Co-creating a new language, you probably can't beat this moment. Everyone knows what this is. He said it's not an iPod. It's not a phone. It's not an internet communicator. Are you getting it? It's all 3 in 1, and the world changed. So we all just need to be Steve Jobs. Good luck with that. But right, this is just a person working within a company in which they broke down and really built these networks. These were companies where engineering and marketing co-created products together so they could build something that didn't exist before. But I'm actually not interested as much in Steve Jobs as I am interested in this man. Anyone know who this is? Okay, it's a great movie. It just came out a couple years ago. Bayard Rustin. Really check it out. Coleman Domingo, one of the best actors working today. Again, theater guy. Bayard Rustin is the man behind the man. He's the man behind Martin Luther King Jr. The I Have a Dream speech in Washington, D.C. wouldn't have happened without this man. Because that was a complex partnership through all sorts of different organizations with their own agendas, some of which were racial justice motivated. But you have to remember at that time, civil rights movement was not the only game in town. There was Black Power movement. There was anti-war movement. Bayard Rustin was part of the GLBTQ movement. He had to bring all those people together, work behind the scenes, and bring it together. Bayard Rustin lived by a mantra that I love, that again is not mine. I don't remember who to credit it with, but that's okay. It's called, it's not about being the biggest boat. It's about how many boats you can get in the water. And he worked his different sides of who he was and helped people create this language together. But I have time because I like to speak fast. I want to help you co-create a language together. I'm a theater person. It's going to get weird for a second. Run with it. Turn to the person next to you. Find someone to stare at for a second. You don't have to look deep in each other's eyes. It's okay. You don't have to look deep in each other's eyes. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. For 30 seconds, and 30 seconds only, the person on my left of this duo, start moving your arms, move your face, do whatever you want to do physically. The person on my right, can you just copy them? Mimic whatever they do. Go. All right, I'll cut it off before it gets weird. Now, who'd I do first? I did the person on this side went, right? So the other person, the person on my right, now you go, and the other person copy you. So switch, 30 seconds, go. "30 seconds is a long time, right? Okay, stop. All right, now here's where it's going to get wacko. Same pair. Nobody lead, nobody follow. Mirror each other. 30 seconds, go. Nobody lead, nobody follow. Great. Okay, excellent. What happened at the end there? You were kind of in perfect sync, some of you. And there was something happening, and you were doing something together, and nobody was leading and nobody was following. And you can't get there, I promise you, if you don't really think about the system you're in, how that group of people fits together. You don't really think about how you actively, purposely build in the network of the people with the skills you need. That's how you become Bayard Rustin. You have to do that work. You don't earn that work just by doing this one silly exercise. This work takes forever, but there's no secret sauce to when you're actually able to start mirroring each other. Although I will say for certain clients, another one you can practically do is we have them co-create a dictionary together. First they do this exercise, and then they write down, especially remember that engineering marketing example? The marketing people have to write down marketing speak, which takes many pages of words. The engineering people have to write down engineering speak, which takes many pages of words. And they have to co-create a dictionary of terms so they can get past jargon. And lo and behold, what starts happening? They start mirroring themselves, and they actually create words they want to share together. They maybe make up words. They find a new language to communicate with. So that's what we call lead like a movement. That's what Bayard Rustin does. This does not happen without the first two steps. I'm not going to explain how this happens because this just starts happening. But you may notice that you're no longer in front if you're that big dot. You're kind of in the middle. And there's other big dots as well because you came together. And that's how the March on Washington happens. Call that lead like a movement. By the way, fun fact about March on Washington, one of Bayard Rustin's biggest accomplishments was nobody wanted to speak after Martin Luther King Jr. They all tried to turn it down. He finally got someone to speak after him because why would you want to do that? So these are the 3 steps. Think like a system, act like a network, lead like a movement. They are really, to us, sort of what these great leaders do in our book, which you're welcome to purchase. There are 23 simple skills that we lay out. The idea here being that we can all do this tomorrow in this conference, in our companies. You don't need to be trying to create a giant social movement to figure out how to bring people together. If you think that I am interesting or cool or think that I might have colleagues that are, feel free to scan that QR code. We would be happy to come support you. We do 4 major things. I tend to lead our strategic planning and facilitation. Wonder why? But we also search for new board members, and we search for new executive leaders as well. I have a booth out there all week long to tell you all about my company. It's right back to your right. At 2:30 today, I will be signing this book, but I welcome you to get the QR code because you're about to get even more participation with a rad workshop coming up for the next 45 minutes. So don't go out to my signing. But if you want to come visit me, I'll be at that booth. I'm happy to sign after my signing at any point and offer a book to you. Plus, they're for sale the whole time. So 2:30 to 3 out there. It's been my pleasure to be your speaker. Bam, I got it right at 2:15, Dylan. Mic drop. Thank you.